Today in Burkina Faso, they have a certainty. Terrorism is almost over. What needs to be done? Either create a rebellion or start a civil war. That's it. And they are maneuvering for that. We are waiting for them. And everyone needs to be careful at their own level. Because if people allow themselves to be manipulated, they will be lined up and lit up like the others as well. Manipulation must not succeed. We have a goal to achieve, and we will achieve it.
Supporters of Burkina Faso's military leader have called for a mass rally in support of the junta after the government said it had foiled an attempted coup and accused America and France of influencing the country's politics.
Over the past 2 years, Burkina Faso's ruthless leader Ibrahim Traoré has dodged 18 assassination attempts, but the $5 million hit placed on his head in April 2025 pushed things over the edge. Now he's turning to Russia's military muscle to strike back, and the fallout is hitting Trump hard. This isn't your typical African coup. This is a deadly global power play, packed with traitorous bodyguards, Russian commandos, and a crumbling American shadow empire. When Traoré survived a plot so inside that his own bodyguard was bribed to kill him, he didn't just survive, he declared war. A war on the old world order. With Moscow now in his corner, Trump's grip on Africa is slipping fast. The West is bleeding influence, while a new axis of power rises from the wreckage. So how did a botched hit job in Ouagadougou spiral into an earthquake shaking both the White House and the Kremlin? Let's break it down.
He's doing exactly what the people of Burkina Faso and many other African countries wish their leaders were doing for them.
April 16, 2025, Burkina Faso came terrifyingly close to losing its leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The hit was $5 million, offered straight to his own presidential guards. But here's the twist. Instead of taking the money, they flipped, exposed the plot, handed over the cash, and saved Traoré at his final hour. One man was arrested and charged with treason, but he was just a pawn. The real players are still out there, hiding in the shadows. This wasn't the first attempt on Traoré's life. He's survived 18 tries since taking power, each one a reminder that someone, somewhere, wants him gone. The threats come from all directions. Double-crossers inside the military, terrorist cells looking to spark chaos, and foreign powers desperate to keep control over the country's gold, lithium, and everything else buried in its soil.
The meticulous work of the intelligence service revealed a major plot being prepared against our country, the ultimate aim of which is to sow total chaos with a view to placing the country under the tutelage of an international organization capable of regaining control in 10 or 20 years' time.
The betrayal runs deep. This wasn't just about killing a president, it was about collapsing a nation. Traitors inside his own circle leaked classified intel, teamed up with terrorists, and timed attacks to throw the country into total disorder. The goal was to break Burkina Faso so badly that foreign powers, especially France, could step back in and reclaim the Sahel. But after this attempt, Traoré's done playing defense. His response is to wage war, a direct strike on the old guard, and a hard slap to Western influence Trump's legacy included. Back when Trump was in power, the US played a careful game in the region, helping with counterterrorism, but never fully committing to long-term stability. Traoré's resistance now throws all of that into question. Washington and Paris are scrambling, and the balance of power is starting to shift. Every failed hit makes Traoré bolder, every betrayal tightens his grip, and every move he makes shakes the foundations of French and American influence in West Africa. The game has changed, and the stakes have never been higher.
France and the United States government needs to back off from any attempt to remove Captain Traoré from office. Forget about your plan. He's our own.
After the $5 million assassination plot, Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't waste a second. He turned Burkina Faso's presidential palace into a fortress. The failed hit showed just how deep the betrayal went. Traitors inside his own army, leaks of classified intel, and foreign hands allegedly pulling strings from Paris and Abidjan. For Traoré, staying alive now means trusting no one. Traoré overhauled his entire security structure. The presidential guard got reshuffled. Anyone with even a hint of wavering loyalty was out. Surveillance Surveillance went into overdrive. Phones, movements, conversations, nothing goes unwatched. Counterintelligence is back in full force, hunting moles and double agents before they can strike. But this isn't just about soldiers. Traoré has deployed the VDP, Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland, a civilian force made up of everyday Burkinabe, fiercely loyal to him. They're armed, mobilized, and keeping watch at all hours of the day. They're sending a clear warning to anyone thinking of turning. The people are part of the regime now, and they're everywhere.
You are dealing with the whole Africa. And especially, you are dealing with Russian military. You are dealing with us, the Africans in the Russian military.
This iron fist approach didn't come out of nowhere. It's Traoré's answer to the security vacuum left behind by the West. During Trump's presidency, the U.S. pulled back, focused on America first, and left countries like Burkina Faso exposed. Traoré saw the opening and took it. Now he's locking the system down while flipping off Western influence in the process. The walls are up and the palace is sealed. Betrayal used to lead to punishment, but now it means instant execution. The war for control is far from over, but for now, Traoré's fortress is holding.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has pledged more support to the military junta in Burkina Faso. Now, Moscow says it remains fully committed in supporting Burkina Faso fight militant groups.
However, after the latest failed assassination attempt, Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't just beef up his own security, he called in backup from Moscow. Russia didn't hesitate to send aid. Within days, military advisors and elite commandos landed in Burkina Faso, making Traoré more untouchable than ever.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu met with his counterpart from Burkina Faso, Kassoum Coulibaly, to discuss military cooperation, with Shoigu hailing the positive dynamics between the two countries. Russian-Burkinabe relations are based solely on the principles of mutual respect and consideration of each other's interest, and in recent years they have acquired positive dynamics. I consider today's meeting to be another step in the development of our friendly relations.
These aren't just soldiers, they're from the Africa Corps, the rebranded Wagner Group. They came with weapons, gear, and a clear mission: protect Traoré at all costs, from terrorists, traitors, and foreign-backed coup plotters. But this wasn't just about muscle. It was a warning shot to the world, a signal that the game in the Sahel has changed. While the US backed off under Trump, pulling out of Africa and leaving a vacuum, Russia slipped in quietly. Behind the scenes, secret security deals were signed. Operatives embedded themselves inside Traoré's inner circle. Russian advisors now train local forces, patrol hot zones, and run intelligence networks reporting directly to the presidency. And now, the West is rattled.
Who think they are hidden inside or outside, who continue to inform, to communicate for the enemy, they will pay for it, because we will not allow individuals to take pleasure when there is an attack, just to say. The VDP and the FDS, so many have fallen, not even trying to know what fight they fought and how many enemies they neutralized. That doesn't interest them. These are terrorists who communicate for the terrorists who fight. Let them understand that relations between states are always strong. The relations between an individual and a state can never surpass the relations between states, because we will always have compromises. They are not hidden, and we will seek them out wherever they are. And they will come to answer for their actions here.
Washington and Paris watched a man they once saw as vulnerable become shielded by a new alliance and loyalty to Moscow. But this goes deeper than military protection. Russian companies like Nordgold, tied to the Kremlin, are snapping up mining contracts. It's a trade, security for resources, and in return, influence for loyalty. For Trump's legacy, it's a brutal twist. His pullback from the region opened the door for Russia to step forward, arming leaders who reject Western control and rewriting the rules of engagement. What we're seeing now is a new power block rising in West Africa, chaotic, unpredictable, and fully outside the West's grip. Traoré's survival isn't just a comeback story, it's a symbol of the shift. With Russian commandos in the shadows and US influence fading fast, the map of Africa is being redrawn, one secret deal at a time. Meanwhile, France is furious and getting desperate. After being kicked out by the military juntas in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, Paris is watching its old empire crumble. Russian flags are flying where French boots used to march. Armored convoys roll through through Ouagadougou and Bamako, but they're not flying the tricolor. They're backed by Moscow.
Emmanuel Macron insulted all Africans in his remarks. There was one part that caught my attention, where he spoke of ingratitude, and that ingratitude is a disease that cannot be transmitted to humans. He is a human. Our ingratitude is not transmissible to him. This is how this gentleman sees Africa, sees Africans. We are not human in his eyes.
Traoré's anti-French stance and his tight grip on Russian support have left France scrambling, and now, behind closed doors, French intelligence is turning to darker options. Covert operations are ramping up. Economic sabotage is back in play. France is being accused of using proxy networks to mess with gold and mineral exports, the cash flow that keeps Traoré in power. The goal: cut off the money, starve the regime, and break his grip. But it doesn't stop there. There are whispers of French-backed operatives stirring unrest inside the country, trying to shake things up from within, trigger chaos, and open the door for a French comeback. But France isn't just fighting in the shadows for fun, it's because it has to.
Il y a une partie qui a retenu mon attention. Là où il parlait d'ingratitude, et que l'ingratitude est une maladie non transmissible aux humains. Lui, il est humain, notre ingratitude n'est pas transmissible à lui. Voilà comment ce monsieur voit l'Afrique, voit les Africains. Nous ne sommes pas des humains à ses yeux. S'il n'est pas athée et qu'il prie, à chaque matin qu'il se réveille et qu'il prie, il devrait aussi prier les Africains. Parce que c'est grâce à nos ancêtres qu'il existe aujourd'hui en France.
With Russian mercs and military advisors now on the ground, the old playbook, boots on the ground, direct intervention, is off the table. So now it's sabotage. Quiet deals with elites who feel frozen out by Traoré's hardline rule. Compare that to the US under Trump. Washington went for economic pressure, backroom talks, and the occasional sanction. But France is playing dirtier now, and still, both are losing ground. Traoré's rise has them rattled, and Moscow's growing influence is only making things worse for the West. But France isn't done yet. For now, the pressure is on, and every failed mission, every botched op, just makes Traoré stronger and Russia's grip tighter. The power struggle is entering a darker, more unpredictable phase, with Burkina Faso as the battleground for the world's old and new empires.
Shifting focus to Burkina Faso in West Africa. The country's military leader, Ibrahim Traoré, has leveled strong accusations against France. He has accused the former colonial power of destabilizing his country. Traoré says France is destabilizing Burkina Faso with support from West African nations Benin and Ivory Coast. He also claimed to have evidence for the same.
Captain Ibrahim Traoré may have survived yet another coup attempt, but his future is hanging by a thread. Every failed plot leaves the regime more on edge, tightening its grip, hunting for traitors, and forcing out anyone who even looks disloyal. The latest conspiracy, linked to former army officers and jihadist leaders with suspected foreign backing, was a clear warning. The threat isn't just outside, it's inside his own ranks. Inside government circles, fear is spreading.
Today in Burkina Faso, they have a certainty. Terrorism is almost over. What needs to be done? Either create a rebellion or start a civil war. That's it. And they are maneuvering for that. We are waiting for them. And everyone needs to be careful at their own level. Because if people allow themselves to be manipulated, they will be lined up and lit up like the others as well. Manipulation must not succeed. We have a goal to achieve, and we will achieve it.
Arrests and purges are becoming routine, and the more people disappear, the more others start to quietly distance themselves. Some are going silent, others are waiting for the right moment to act. It's not just open rebellion Traoré has to fear, it's slow erosion from within. On the outside, things are just as bad. Burkina Faso is almost completely cut off from the West. Traoré's anti-French stance and his pivot to Russia have shattered old alliances. The US has already stepped back, leaving behind warnings, threats, and little else. France, furious at being pushed out of its former colonies, is now accused of trying to sabotage Traoré's rule from the shadows.
You voluntarily committed yourselves. There are countries where people are forcibly taken, killed. You leave or you die. Others, even while trying to flee, end up dying. In the history of the world, there have been wars. And during the Second World War, people organized themselves to defend all over the place. But there is a country that could not defend itself, which had to come and take our ancestors to go defend them. And today that same country wants to give us lessons. the pot calling the kettle black.
But the biggest threat might still be the chaos on the ground. Nearly 40% of the country is under jihadist control. Violence hasn't stopped. People are still being displaced in massive numbers. Russian support may have strengthened the palace, but it hasn't brought peace to the streets. Schools, clinics, basic services, many of them are gone in rebel-held areas, and the population is paying the price.
For the past 5 years, Burkina Faso has been slipping into a state of complete chaos, with government security forces and even civilians failing to beat back a growing jihadist insurgency. The last year saw the fighting get a lot worse. There were more than 200 terrorist attacks by groups aligned with Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State, as jihadist groups are digging in deeper in their most promising home outside of the Middle East.
Traoré's future is a dangerous tightrope. He's relying on fear to maintain control, but that fear could easily turn against him. He's burned bridges with the West and bet everything on Russia, but that alliance comes with strings. And at home, support is being tested by insecurity, silence, and fatigue. Trump's retreat from Africa may have opened the door for him to rise, but it also left him exposed. Now, Traoré is stuck between collapsing institutions, growing foreign pressure, and the slow, quiet threat of decay from within. The question now is, how long can Traoré survive in a fortress under siege, with enemies closing in from every side?
Okay, so there's this report that Captain Ibrahim Traoré has claimed that they told him that he's going to die like Thomas Sankara and Gaddafi.
What are your opinions? Is Traoré a dictator in the making, or the last defense against Western recolonization? With Russian boots on the ground, is Africa choosing new masters, or finally breaking free? Did Trump's America First strategy hand Africa to Russia on a silver platter? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss brand new content. And if you're ready for more, be sure to click the next video on your screen.